This is Mehera-Meher, page 429 at the bottom. In the earlier years, Baba had several watchmen who took turns being on duty near him. Later, some like Nilu and Bao did the watch throughout the night. Then, as it was so taxing on them and they had other duties besides, the duty was again divided into different shifts. Kakabaria helped in Maharazad until his health did not allow it, and Vishnu, too, had done some hours of night watch until he died. During 1968, for a few hours, Pendu shared night watch duty with Bao, and something unprecedented happened during his watch. On the night of 3 March, Baba sat on the edge of his bed and told Pendu to turn around and look the other way while Baba did his universal work. After a few minutes, Pendu heard a noise, turned back, and was horrified to see Baba on the floor. He had fallen while doing his work, and his forehead was bleeding profusely. Goher was awakened by the noise and rushed in. There was a cut over Baba's left eyebrow, which he bandaged. Pendu held a flashlight as Goher worked, since there was no electricity. It was very painful to do the dressing and to give Baba antibiotic injections, Goher recalled. I thought of Baba's statement that his body would be turned into minced meat, meaning he would suffer like other avatars before him. I felt this to be happening while giving him the injection. Baba had suspended his daily work in seclusion during the birthday celebrations, but from 7 March he began again. He now worked in seclusion in Mandalay Hall for 4 hours each morning and for another hour in the afternoon. At these times, there was to be absolute silence. During this period, said Meheru, Baba was so particular about sound because, as he explained, the thread holding him to the gross body was so fine when he was working. Anything, any sudden noise could break the thread. We had to do our daily chores, prepare tea, get ready for Baba to come. It was difficult not to make any noise, but we had to be careful. I would scold the servants in a whisper and shoo away the cawing crows. Everything had to be absolutely quiet. My attention was more on keeping things quiet rather than on doing other work. For example, I was more concerned to see that the garden boys did not make any sounds with their watering cans than about their work. Anything would make a clatter. When the bell rang that Baba had finished and was coming to our side soon, we rushed to get everything done. Some months before, the women had adopted a stray pup, whom Baba named Ramu. During Baba's working hours, a garden boy took Ramu out on the road away from Maharazad and sat with him under the mango tree until the bell rang, signaling that Baba's work for the morning was finished. As Baba's work progressed, the boys were told not to water the garden at all during this time, or attempt any work that inadvertently made a sound. After the bell rang, Meheru told the boys to do their work quickly. The side note says Ramu provided some light amusement for Baba after his strenuous work. Mehera and Meheru trained the pup to jump back and forth over a rope tied to a tree. In Mandalay Hall, Ramu performed the same trick over a stick, which Baba enjoyed watching. The reign of silence extended beyond the Meherazad boundaries. Meheru was sent to the hut of the neighboring family, who lived opposite Meherazad on the adjoining property, to explain to the mother to keep her children quiet, to take them out into the field so as not to disturb Baba. I had to bribe them with a gift if they promised to be good, Meheru recalled. They were given clothes and they were quite happy. It was probably the first pair of pants the children had. They were so poor. But they still made noise. I explained to the older brother the same thing, to keep his younger siblings quiet. The next day there was loud crying. I went over and asked, "Didn't you understand what I told you about being quiet for Baba and seeing that your brothers and sisters do the same?" "Oh, yes," the boy answered sincerely. "I even whacked them to make them be quiet," which of course made them cry more. During these times of absolute silence, Goher found that, unbelievably, one day Baba scolded her, saying he could hear and was disturbed by the sound of her swallowing. "We had to be that careful," she said. Baidul faced a similar situation. He would sneeze so loudly that during the time of Baba's seclusion, he too was told to go on the road by the big mango tree and keep watch there. One day, Baba announced, "Today I have done the best possible work. I have completed the most amount of work I have ever done. I am really pleased with it." Not everyone was happy to hear this. Meheru's reaction was, when Baba was working in seclusion during the last phase, oops, I lost my place. When Baba was working in seclusion during the last phase and said he had done the most amount of work ever, when he said this, a chill passed through me as I thought about what Baba must have gone through to do this great work. Then the next day, although Baba said he could never do better work than what he had already done, he announced that indeed he had transcended that level. His last seclusion was an important one, Mehera explained, but it was a great strain on him. He wasn't young then. To do so much universal work at an advanced age, when most people should be resting, was a great strain on Baba. In old age and frail health and working on the higher planes, it was difficult for him to keep connected with the gross plane. And a side note says Baidul once asked Baba whether he could be the caretaker of Baba's samadhi. "You fool," Baba told him. "One day there will be a caretaker of your samadhi." To maintain this connection with the gross world while working, Baba began striking his thigh with his fist. "So many days, all the time," Meheru recalled. "He hit only one thigh till it was so sore it turned black and blue. Then he pounded the other thigh. After weeks of this daily pounding, the muscles on his thighs became like two logs of wood," in Erich's words. Since Baba was working alone in Mandali Hall, Mehera never saw him hit his thighs. But later she did notice the bluish bruises and how hard his thighs had become. Baba worked for hours at a stretch in Mandali Hall, Meheru concluded, and then came to his room. However tired, however drained you felt he was from putting all his energy, all his attention into his work, just from the state of how weak he looked, we realized what a strain it was and the intensity of his work. Just from the effect it had on him, we realized how much he was giving of himself. Here's Mehera at Guru Prasad Memorial for February 1974, photo by Milan. Chapter 152, The Untouchable Chair. Mayor Baba left for Guru Prasad on Monday, 1 April 1968. Driven again by dawn in his Wolseley. Gohar and Meheru rode in front with dawn. Baba, Mehera, and Mani sat in back. Naja and Rano went with Adi Sr., and Alu remained at Mehera's side. Because of his intensified seclusion, Baba issued strict instructions that none of his Ahmednagar lovers should wait by Sarosh petrol pump near Kushu quarters or by Akbar Press on Station Road to see him as he drove to Pune. Dun Sata could not resist her inner urge for a glance at the beloved. She waited instead by the Sata colony gate, a little before Akbar Press, and was rewarded with a view of Baba. Baba was not upset. He had Dawn slow down, smiled, and told Mehera to wave. After about 2.5 hours, as they were approaching Guru Prasad, Baba gestured for Mani to tell Dawn to blow the horn. Mani conveyed the message through Gohar. And the side note said Mani was not to speak to Dawn directly if she could help it. So Mani conveyed the message through Gohar. Dawn, blow the horn, Gohar shouted. Blow the horn. Baba chuckled and gestured. You know that fat one. Blow the horn. At first, Mehera and Mani could not understand what Baba meant. The fat one? Then they comprehended. Baba was remembering a Laurel and Hardy film they had seen years before, titled Saps at Sea. In the final scene of the film, Laurel and Hardy are on a boat with an escaped criminal. Laurel has a horn with him. Hardy shouts, Blow the horn! Blow the horn! The horn comes apart, and Laurel tries to put it together. The scene tickled Baba, Mani said, and now, years later, Baba remembered the scene when Gohar suddenly gets the message for Dawn and explodes, Blow the horn! Blow the horn! The way Baba would recall and remember was so beautiful. Something similar happened years after Baba had seen the film The Absent-Minded Professor. The women were gathered around Baba in his bedroom. Baba was seated on the bed, facing the window, his feet resting on a cushion on the floor. Baba gestured for Gohar to give Erich a message. Gohar left, but a few minutes later, Baba asked impatiently, Where's Gohar? She's taking such a long time. Has she come back? Someone went to look and reported that she hadn't yet returned. Again, after a minute, Baba asked, Hasn't Gohar come back yet? Gohar came soon after, and Baba asked her, What's the matter with you? You took so long. Goher said she had walked straight to Erich's room, delivered the message, and came straight back. Baba, with a twinkle in his eye, said, "You should have," and he spelled out Flubber. Flubber? They asked, perplexed. Then they remembered and started laughing. It was from the absent-minded professor, where a professor invents a flying rubber substance that was placed under shoes of the characters, enable sorry, invents a where a professor invents a flying rubber substance that, when placed under shoes of the characters, enables them to leap high in the air. A few days after arriving in Pune, Baba remarked to the women that something that was to happen would be something that will not happen again for billions and billions of years, and that this something great would happen all of a sudden, not in developing stages. People will go about their daily affairs unaware till the moment of its happening. Hmm. Baba's final stay at Guru Prasad in 1968 was quite different from previous years. Outsiders were not permitted to visit, and the Mandali were not allowed to leave. Both Erich and Nadja stayed at Guru Prasad this year, instead of at Bindra House, as they usually did. Khorshid stayed with the women, but both she and Nadja were put on silence for their entire 3-month stay. Baba had instructed Khorshid in a letter to make all arrangements in Bombay for her mother before coming. After coming, he said, "If you leave even once, I won't take you back. Think it over and let me know." Mehera had written, "This is the chance. Don't lose it. You must come. I will be pleased if you come." Khorshid agreed and went to Guru Prasad in advance to prepare what she could before Baba and the others came. When Baba and the women arrived, Khorshid was silent. Baba was pleased. He called her to his room, told her to answer when he asked a question, and then from the next day to keep absolute silence. Baba asked about Sunamasi, and Khorshid spoke about her mother for a few minutes. Khorshid did not mind fasting, but she hated keeping silence. She wanted to speak with Mehera and tell her all the news, but she could not. Nadja, too, found the silence difficult. When she became excited, she could not express her impatience in words. Mehera wrote to Irene, "We arrived in Pune on 1 April. The drive was a bit tiring for Baba. We are not to step out of the Guru Prasad compound. Beloved Baba is in strict seclusion. No one is allowed to come here, nor can we, or the Mandali, go out of the compound. I have as good as completed the blouse I had begun in Meherazad." Later she added, "This year the summer was quite pleasant in Pune. In fact, some days in April were actually cold." Baba began his work almost as soon as they arrived, and it seemed to be reflected once again in world events. In the United States, Martin Luther King was shot on 4 April. "What a pity," Baba commented. "It's a shame he was killed. He was a good man." King's assassination, however, was not the only disturbing event of the final year of Meher Baba's physical presence on Earth, and the year his universal work reached its culmination. Newsweek magazine noted that 1968 was, quote, surely the most tumultuous in recent memory, a year that still provokes a mixture of wonder and horror, unmatched by any other in recent memory. Part of the reason is the sheer variety, volume, and velocity of events. But there is more to it than that. Somehow it seems, in that single year, the essential themes and concerns of a generation came to be distilled. The Vietnam War was suddenly the Vietnam War suddenly looked a lot less winnable. At home, assassins claimed Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy. End quote. That's from Newsweek, 4 January 1988, page 42. It says 1988, but it must mean 68 because that's what we're talking about. Time magazine echoed the same theme. 1968 had the vibrations of an earthquake about it. America shuddered. The year was pivotal and messy. It reverberates still in the American mind. 1968 was tragedy and horrific entertainment. Deaths of heroes, uprisings, suppressions, the end of dreams, blood in the streets of Chicago and Paris and Saigon. And at last, at Christmas time, man for the first time floating around the moon. One is sometimes incredulous now at 1968, not only at the astonishing sequence of events, but at the intensity, the energy in the air. More than in ordinary times, people thought about death, about spiritual fulfillment, and about transfiguration. The nation pulsed with music and proclamation, with rages and moral pretensions. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, sang the cast of Hair, which came to Broadway in April. The essential 1968 was mythic. It proceeded chaotically, and yet finally had the coherence and force of tragedy. 1968 was a knife blade that severed past from future. 1968 was more than a densely compacted parade of events, more than the accidental alignment of planets. It was a tragedy of change, a struggle between generations, to some extent, a war between the past and the future, and even for an entire society, a violent struggle to grow up. And that was from Time, 11 January. Again, it says 1988, but it should be 1968, I would think, page 4, unless that's a retrospective. At Guru Prasad, Baba did his special work alone in his room, seated in a yellow upholstered armchair that was placed next to his bed. The chair had originally been in the Rani of Baroda's bedroom, but was moved into Baba's room for his work. No one was in the room while Baba was working. His room was cleaned and kept ready as usual while Baba was having his tea or with the mandali. The floor was swept, fresh drinking water put out, and the bed linen aired. After the first day of his work, while seated on his bed, Baba instructed the women that no one was to touch the yellow chair. You don't know what the consequences will be if you touch it, he warned. No one should touch it. Then he pointed to Mehera and said, You can touch it. But she never did, except to clean it occasionally when Baba's work was done. Side note says, similarly, only Mehera cleaned Baba's red dining room chair at Guru Prasad, now kept in Mandalay Hall, though there were no specific orders for others not to touch it. So, about the armchair, she never did touch it except to clean it occasionally when Baba's work was done. The armchair was brushed with a soft bristle wood handle brush and covered with a large plastic sheet when Baba was not using it to keep it clean. We only had a certain amount of time to do our work, Meheru explained. So not only did we have to do it quietly, but quickly as well. Baba would be at breakfast only for a short time. Meheru told Naja to guard the chair while she aired Baba's bed, took out the laundry, and the servants mopped the floor and filled fresh water. Naja watched the servant boy to make sure he did not violate Baba's very important order about the chair. One of the women had to be in the room always so that the chair would not be touched. Likewise, when the room was to be dusted, they were careful not to touch the chair. Side note says Meheru had to prepare Baba's tea also and keep warm water ready for him to wash his face. After Baba had washed and breakfasted, Mehera combed his hair. He walked to Mandalay Hall, leaning on Mehera's arm until the door. A Jim Reeves's song was still playing on the record player as Baba passed through the hall. He walked to the front veranda with Erich, Bao, and Francis, and from the men Mondelez side across to his bedroom. Baba sat in the chair for several hours every morning. With a clap, he summoned the Mondelez when he was finished. He went to the hall with them via the veranda and then came to the dining room for lunch. The women never went on the veranda, but stood in the drawing room and watched Baba as he walked to the Mandalay. Baba walked beautifully that time, Mehera remembered. He was not tired or weary and walked straight and fast. In the afternoon also, he sat in the chair in seclusion for half an hour. Baba placed so much emphasis on his order concerning the yellow chair that it seemed he wanted them to focus first on the chair and then on him. Even their clothes were not to brush against it. Baba's bedroom was not large, and the chair was just a short distance from his bed in the middle of the room. Since Baba ate dinner there and the women were present while he was eating, they had to be careful to walk around the chair. He wanted them to keep their distance from it. Baba wanted us to be conscious of the chair at all times, Meheru said. He was so intent on the work he was doing. A table was placed in front for Baba, on which he ate. Mehera saw that Baba's hands were washed. Mani had their current novel, and Agatha Christie, Edgar Wallace, or Rex Stout, ready to read. The moment Baba called us, we rushed to the room, Mani recalled. But as you got into the room, there was the chair. There was such a narrow passage between the chair and Baba's bed. Korshed, who was plump anyway, used to wear full skirts. One day, when she came in wearing a voluminous skirt with a long petticoat, the skirt almost brushed against the chair. None of us was aware of it. I just read a side note just in case. When Baba came to the women's side, he had Meheru ice his thighs, which had become extremely sore and painful from pounding. So the skirt almost brushed against the chair. None of us was aware of it. Baba turned round, eyes flashing. Do you know what you've escaped by a fraction? Never, never should it happen again. No one is to touch the chair. It made Baba nervous each time Khorshid went through this passage between the chair and his bed, so he forbade her to walk there. The chair wasn't to be shifted either, Mani continued. We drew a line around it. We took out the pelmet from the door from where the curtain hung. We put it around the chair as a safety barrier, and it was cordoned off. The moment we entered the room, we didn't think of Baba, but of the chair. Our concentration was more on the chair than on Baba at that time. Khorshid and Meheru were serving Baba one day. When Khorshid bumped into Meheru, Khorshid rushed to help me place the table for Baba's meal, Meheru explained. I was walking backwards, and in her enthusiasm, Khorshid pushed me rather hard, almost into the chair. With effort, I saved myself by putting my foot back to brace myself. But the ruffle of the chair cover brushed my foot above the heel. Seeing this near catastrophe happen before his eyes, Baba became furious with Khorshid. Why are you so careless? He asked. After berating her, he turned to Meheru and asked if she had touched the chair. Yes, she admitted. The ruffle brushed against my foot. Why didn't you tell me? Baba demanded. I didn't want to disturb you. I did all I could to stop being pushed into the chair. Baba told Khorshid she should not use the interconnecting inner door, but to come and go from the front door. Even when Baba wasn't working, said Meheru, his mind was on the chair at all times. It was the pressure of the work at the time. A side note says, when Baba's work was completed, the chair was moved back into the Rani's bedroom. In light of the importance Baba gave the chair, after he dropped his body, the women had the chair brought to Meherabad, where it is now on display in the museum. As at Meherazad, Baba did not want any sounds to disturb him while he was working. The women sat separately, so they did not talk to each other. They did some stitching, read or wrote letters. Meheru remembered once lifting a pot in the dining room. She did not realize that a lid was stuck to the bottom, and it fell with a clang. She was called by Baba and rebuked. One day, Baba was seated on his potty chair next to his bed. Suddenly, without any preamble, Baba spoke about his father. My father, there was none like him in the whole world. He was matchless. That's why I was born to him. That is why I chose him. Mani related, in 1968, we were at peace at Guru Prasad, so much enveloped in an atmosphere of Baba's work in complete seclusion. I look back at that period nostalgically. Naja and Khorshid were on silence. Baba wanted no excitement, no disturbances, nothing that would cause any disturbance. When two women get together in the kitchen, there was bound to be something. In the morning, when Baba finished working, he was seated on his bed in his room, a cushion on the floor for his feet to rest, and we sat around. After the work was done, Baba looked so drained, white, as if he had done some super exertion. Nadja was very expressive with her hands, arms, and face, even when she was not on silence. Once Baba looked at Nadja as usual and asked, "What's for lunch? What have you cooked today?" Nadja, through gestures, very graphically described what was for lunch. Onions she had cut and sauteed. Baba looked at her and, flinging his arms also, he said, "Don't do this," gesturing to me. "Anything you have to say, say to them, the other women." Baba was very serious in that period. The side note says, Naja always used her hands to communicate, Mani explained. Once she was sick and not supposed to fling her arms. We held her hands and she was silent. When we let go, she began talking. Rattled, Naja went through her gestures again, very tense. She at last spelled out SOS. Rano repeated it aloud. SOS? We looked in puzzlement at each other. What could that mean? Suddenly I said, Sauce! At the time, everything was so serious that no one laughed. Another day, that was Sauce, SAUCE. Another day, Nadja spelled out LAMAN to Rano. It took Rano some time to figure out what she wanted was a lemon. Baba told Mani to practice singing Begin the Begin. Francis accompanied her on the harmonium as she sang it. Baba told her that when she was prepared, he would hear it. Although they practiced for a number of days, Baba never asked to hear it. Other things were also kept pending. Baba said to remind him to read a certain book again later, or even for a third time for those books that had been read twice already. We'll read it again later, he would say, but he never called for it. He did ask for other music. Mani had brought the record player with them.
In 1968, right?
Yes, Meher, thank you.
In 1968, while doing his strenuous seclusion work in Guru Prasad, Baba said that listening to the music of Jim Reeves was his relaxation. We had brought all the Jim Reeves records available in Pune. While Baba was having breakfast, we always began with "There is a heartache following me." It was always the first record played, then others, such as "Take My Hand, Precious Lord" were played, then ending again with "Heartache," like his signature tune. Eruch knew that when "Heartache" was played a second time, Baba would be coming. He called the other mandli to get ready as he heard the music through the doors to his office next to our dining room. As its trains played, Baba took Mehra's arm and began slowly walking to the men's side. When Baba listened to Jim Reeves in the morning, before doing his seclusion work, Mani remembered him often pointing to his heart, indicating how touched he was. Baba even swayed to the music. Baba once commented that Jim Reeves was the Western counterpart to Begum Akhtar. Jim Reeves' voice in English touches my heart, he said, just as Begum Akhtar's voice in Indian music touches my heart. And he remarked that someday a person with Jim Reeves' voice would sing Francis's ghazal. A new Jim Reeves record, Welcome to My World, was received at Guru Prasad just before their return to Meherabad. Mani played it, and Baba liked it and asked that it be played again for Mehera to hear. He wanted to hear it a second time, so any excuse would do, Mani said. Mehera, you haven't heard this properly, Baba said. Play it again. Mani played it, and then Baba said, Bring it over to the men's side. When the white, tall doors opened, and Baba stepped from the woman's side to the men's side, normally the door shut, and the men assembled to be with Baba. Normally the doors shut and the men assembled to be with Baba. That day, Baba told Mani to bring the portable player with her. Baba was walking with his hand on Mehra's arm. Mani said, describing the scene, Go here ahead of him to see to the door and all, walking from the dining table to the door. I was walking behind with the portable gramophone. There is a hot take following me, still playing on it. Baba told me to bring Welcome to My World for the men to hear. Baba sat down. I sat and put the gramophone by his feet. Baba told me to play it. There he sat. Listen, Francis, listen carefully to the words. He gestured, as if Francis were too obtuse to understand. Baba had me play it again, and as if to help the men understand it, Baba was pantomiming the words of the whole thing. To help them grasp its meaning, Baba did a mime gestures of the whole song with his while he sat there. Knock and the door will open, seek and you will find, ask and you will be given the key to this world of mine. I'll be waiting here with my arms unfurled. Later it became clear to us that this was the message Baba was giving, and he was helping us to understand the words.
Sorry, Meher, did you do the side notes?
Now,
Mm.
the side note says the record player Mani carried was battery operated. There were several different models over the years. As one wore out, it was replaced by another. One record player played plastic records also. I can get my teeth into this one, Reeves noted, while explaining why he enjoyed singing Welcome to My World, written by John Hathcock and Ray Winkler. Money and Francis did not have the most cordial of relationships. Erich read out each of Money's family letters in the hall before it was sent, and Francis often criticized him, which did not sit well with Money. After hearing one of the letters read by Erich, as if it were a great piece of literature, Francis wondered aloud where money had been residing. With all her rosy descriptions of the climate and landscape around Meher, he said it could not be the same place he lived. Francis did not care for Jim Reeves singing either, and often made fun of his voice. Papa kept saying that he liked it, and dutifully Money listened harder and harder to try to make herself like it too. But not Francis. He sat with a glum expression as the music was played. Do you like it, Francis? Baba asked. Isn't it good? Baba wanted him to say yes. Francis just grunted. Neither yes nor no. Money thought that to please Baba, Francis could have said yes. But he never did. So Baba dropped his body, and Francis was again making some disparaging comments about Jim Reeves. Money turned to him and said, Look, Francis, I put up with it while Baba was physically with us. But please don't let me ever hear you say another word about Jim Reeves. And there is a footnote, let's see that. Jim Reeves was killed in a plane crash at age 39 on 31st July 1964. The woman read about his death on one of the album covers known to his fans as Gentleman Jim. Reeves sold millions of records and earned international fame. The inscription at his gravesite reads, If I, a lovely singer, dry one tear, or soothe one humble heart in pain, then my homely verse to God is dear, and not one stanza has been sung in vain. Francis was taken aback and stopped saying anything critical about the singer. On 21st May, Baba announced that some specific work I am doing now will end on June 25th. Once I start giving darshan, it will continue daily for a fixed time every day. There will be a different Baba during the days of my darshan. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Meher.
On 21st May, Baba announced that some specific work I am doing now will end on June 25th. Once I start giving darshan, it will continue daily for a fixed time every day. There will be a different Baba during the days of my darshan. On 24th June, a day before Baba specified that his specific work would end, Mehera and other women at Guru Prasad were sent to Baba Jan's tomb with instructions to bow down at the samadhi of Baba's master. It was the first time they had left Guru Prasad that year. As Baba was to return to Mehera after a few days, his seclusion work was suspended from 28th June. The strict instructions regarding naja and cautious silence were also rescinded, as everyone packed to leave. The men were allowed to go for a haircut and the women were sent shopping. Till now we had been cloistered in Gurprasad, not ever going out, said Mani. The Manlis hair was growing and they started looking a bit like hippies. Normally the women would have been happy to go shopping, but now it was time to leave. When Baba told us to go out shopping, Mani continued, we groaned to ourselves. Shopping? There were only a few days left to go to Mehera. We have to pack, to do so many things. It was the last thing in the world we wanted to do. But since Baba himself told us to shop, to please him, we made the effort. And we soon found, as usual, that we liked and enjoyed it. Similarly, In previous years, Baba would tell us to go to the pictures when I was in the middle of a family letter. But once we did, I enjoyed it. We went shopping. Mehra started getting things for other people. When we returned, Baba asked, "What have you brought? Is that all you have got?" It was for others. Brooches, a piece of material for Olu. Brackets were stayed at Meherazad while they were in Pune. For this one and that one, Baba was not pleased. Mehra realized it. He was disappointed. Nothing for yourselves? Go back. He told us not to buy just a few little things. Buy something big, he said, but he did not say what. We went out and in the end bought a sewing machine. Papa wasn't too pleased with this either, as I think he wanted Mehra to have something special for herself. But he said, all right. Mehra had bought a skirt piece and some silver trinkets at Kashmir store on Main Street. Also a sari pin. They returned from this second shopping excursion. No, a sari pin of rose leaves. For Meheru, she purchased butterfly pin. At lunch, after they returned from this second shopping excursion, Baba asked what they had bought. Mira told him she had bought some material for a skirt. Only that much? Baba inquired. No more trinkets too? No more trinkets too? Oh no, some trinkets too. And she brought the butterfly and rose pins to show him. Mehra and Mani remarked that the butterfly pin was the prettiest of all. Meheru said if Mehra wanted it, she could keep it. She would take the rose leaf pin. Baba said, no, Mehra, take the rose pin. And he put it in her hands. Baba was so sweet, said Mehra. He took an interest in everything. The shopping expeditions distressed Khorshid. However, because Baba had called her and told her, I want to give Mehera something very nice, something expensive, encouraged her to accept it. Khorshid wondered why Baba had said this. Is he leaving us? She thought. This germ of an idea had troubled her and grew. Baba had never said or done anything like this before. She wondered about it.
She
She
was
never
she worried about it.
she worried about it. She never mentioned it to anyone, least of all to Mehra, who would have felt terribly distraught or scolded her and called her crazy. Moreover, it would have been an added burden to Baba to worry Mehra unnecessarily. Still, such thoughts would not leave. Khorshid was always bold about discussing things with Baba. After all, he had been in his contact since she was 12, and she felt free to speak her mind with him. Before he left for Meherazad, Khorshid found an opportunity to speak with him alone. Now that the other Now that the order about keeping silence has been lifted, Baba had eaten and was washing his hands. She said, when you told me about the gift, Mehra, I had this funny feeling. Are you going to drop your body, Baba? If you are, then you go ahead and order to give me an injection to die. To Mehra also if you want. Given Give her the order now if you're thinking to drop your body. Don't let us live without you for 1 second. Baba looked into her eyes. Hmm. Then suddenly he changed the subject. You fool, he said. You think I'll drop my body now? I have to live for a long time yet. So many people will come to see me. Much later on, I will drop my body. Korshed believed him. There is a picture now. I can't see the details. Yeah, it's a very clear picture. Uh, Mehrazad, 16th October 1959, with Mehera Naja Money. Go ahead.
So Goher took it with Kenmore's Polaroid.
Oh, yeah, that's a photographer. Naja looks like Irwin Luck for me.
She does have a kind of masculine look. Yeah. Kind of large chin and jaw.
Mhm. Is it on recording? Okay.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, the next one has gulmohar leaves or not? Some flowers though, very pretty.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh.
Under the Arbor by New Life Caravan, Mehrazad, Mansari, Mani, Nargis, Dada Chanji, Katie, Khorshid, Mehera, Arnavas, probably 22nd December 1966 or 27th December 1967, taken by Ranu. Mhm.
Wonder what Baba's clutching to his heart.
Yeah,
It could just be a handkerchief or a tea towel.
yeah, some tower.
Beautiful colors.
Hidden Strength is a new chapter. Would you like to continue?
Sure. Um, before, sorry, Meher Baba left Guru Prasad for the last time on Monday, 1 July 1968, returning to Meherazad in Don's Wolseley. Baba rode in this car to Pune and back twice, Mehera said. The first time he was in the front seat, the second time in the back. Although Don did his best to put cushions in the back for Baba, Mehera remembered that somehow Baba was not comfortable in the back seat, which was smaller in terms of legroom than the DeSoto. When they reached Meherazad, Baba was so tired from the journey that when he got down he could hardly walk. He went and sat in a chair. Concerned, Mehera said, the small car, the Wolseley, doesn't suit you. I can see that you get very tired riding in it. You should not travel in that car any more. We have this nice big car, the DeSoto. Why don't you use this one? Don't use Dawn's next time. Don't ride in it to Pune again. Baba said, yes, you are right. I won't sit in that car again. Not again, he gestured emphatically. And he never did. In fact, he never returned to Pune. Baba never told Donkin, Mehera added. Baba, however much he was uncomfortable, bore his discomfort silently to please Don and never let him know. For 1 month, Baba recommenced his work in seclusion in Mandalay Hall, working alone for half an hour every morning and again in the afternoon in his room. After each morning session, the men Mandalay were called inside. They stood before Baba and together recited the Masters and repentance prayers. Baba stood with them and prayed with folded hands. There's a side note. Two persons had to support Baba because his muscles had become so stiff due to the pounding on his thighs when he was working. The beloved God prayer was usually recited also, for which Baba continued to stand. And in brackets, Meheru does not remember whether this short prayer was repeated on the women's side too, but it most likely was. During the repentance prayer, Baba tapped his cheeks lightly in the customary gesture for repenting. I went near the hall during the recitation of the prayers, Mehera confided. I stood outside, pretending to look at the garden and the flowers so I could hear the prayers. When Baba came from the hall, both prayers were repeated in his bedroom, this time with the women. Mehera stood next to Baba by the bed. Baba stood on the carpet, facing east, his eyes open, holding Mehera's right hand for support. Baba had trouble standing alone when the prayers were recited, so he balanced himself. I wanted to join hands to Baba, so all the time my hands would be towards him. The others were in a circle. The Master's prayer was said first, then the repentance prayer. Mani said both prayers aloud as the others listened. By this time, Baba was getting tired. It was uncomfortable for him to stand for so long because his weight was on one leg. Baba had said the prayers with the mandali already in the hall, and he was saying them again, standing with us. It was too much for him. It went on for 2 or 3 days until Mehera said, Baba, why should you stand during the repentance prayer? It is for us to stand. You should sit down. Baba did not agree. But you will get tired, she pleaded. You gave this prayer for us, not for yourself. Baba said, All right. And from that day on, during the repentance prayer, he was seated on the edge of the bed, his feet resting on the cushion. Mehera told him that he should be seated during the Master's prayer also, but Baba insisted he must stand for it. The side note says, Meheru said, when the prayers were being said, it was such a profound atmosphere. If there was the slightest disturbing sound around, in the garden, someone hammering or sweeping, immediately Baba would motion for me to go and see that it stopped. Baba didn't want any disturbance because he was giving his complete focus on the prayers. He was giving his presence that time so that whenever the prayers are said, His presence would be there for each one, individually and collectively. Before this period in 1968, Baba never had the prayers recited, nor had the arti sung before him on a regular basis. Mehera confirmed, "We never said the prayers. We just worked for him. His arti was only played on the record player on his birthday, and we would join in along with it." The reason for Baba's participation in the prayers was revealed one day in the hall. While Erich was reading aloud the Master's prayer, Baba told him to go faster and faster until Erich burst out laughing. Erich stopped, then resumed and finished. Later, Baba asked, "What made you laugh in the middle of the prayer?" Erich said, "Baba, the very thought that I was going like an express train through the prayer, it sounded so funny." "You are a crackpot. You don't understand anything. By my doing this prayer at this stage, with my body helpless, it is not for your benefit. When I drop my body, it will help those who recite this prayer. It is not for you, but for posterity. My participation now will go a long way in helping those who recite it after I drop my body." Mehera and the other women begged Baba to be less neglectful of his health. Baba said, "That would mean once again prolonging the work and postponing the date of its conclusion. If I now allow that to happen, it will indefinitely postpone the result and set it on a different course. Therefore, Mehera and the others were relieved on 30 July when Baba declared, "My work is done. It is completed 100% to my satisfaction. The result of this work will also be 100% and will manifest from the end of September." About his seclusion, Baba also commented, "How I kept it going over the last stretch to its completion, I alone know. You cannot have a seed of an idea how crushing the pressure was, for it is beyond human understanding. On the final day, my body felt as though it had been through a ringer." And we'll stop here for today. Pick up next week.